guys. Hey there, welcome to Strange Occurrences. I am Rose Stone, also known as Miss Riche Life, and I talk simply luxurious lifestyle on a budget as well, but I am talking strange occurrences, abnormal tales with a Gen X twist tonight, and it is live from TikTok, so thank you. Big shout out to TikTok, and of course to my podcast host, Spotify, and recording studio Riverside, which if you are looking to start recording a podcast for yourself and you have a Spotify account, you can use Riverside starting for free and get to know the system, and then you can upgrade from there. It's a fantastic system. I'm having a great time with it, and I'm loving the TikTok lives. You guys are so much fun. So actually, I'm looking a lot of your comments tonight. All I want is comments tonight, comments and hearts, because we are talking the Mandela Effect. And the Mandela Effect is something that so many Gen Xers live with now. And I mean, like I said, I love strange occurrences. I love conspiracy theories. I'm not saying that I believe every single one, but I absolutely love discussing every single one because it just reminds me of those great these conversations that we had in college when they would go on all night, and we would just be like coming up with these strange theories about everything, and everyone would add on to it and build, and it was just one of those, the conversations I'm talking about, Gen X. So the Mandela Effect is literally a Gen X collective memory or memory failure. But the thing is, if so many of us remember something so clearly, how wrong can we be? I say we cannot be very wrong because it happened. And it's called the Mandela Effect because the first time all of us Gen Xers experienced this, and I don't believe we talked about it with our boomer parents. Maybe some of you did. I definitely don't remember talking about it with them. But we, in sometime in the 90s, all looked at each other when Nelson Mandela was freed after being sentenced to life in prison in South Africa. We were told at some point, the late 80s, that he passed away in that prison. So I'm sitting here, and obviously we're not going to find anything about that on Wikipedia or anywhere else but Reddit for people who are talking about this particular Mandela effect. Now, I have to say, if a collective memory effect is going to happen to an entire generation born between 1965 and 1980, I am very honored that it is named after Nelson Mandela because he was everything so many of us should aspire to be. So here I am, I'm on Wikipedia, and it says Nelson R., I cannot pronounce his middle name, Nelson R. Mandela, born July 18th, 1918, and officially passed on record December 5th, 2013. So if any of you guys are out there, you're watching live on TikTok, you're listening on Spotify or YouTube, drop me a comment if you remember hearing that he had passed away. Because sometime in 1997, he was freed from prison, and that's when so many of us remember saying, hey, we thought he had already passed. So, he was a South African anti-apartheid activist, a politician and statesman who served as the first president of South Africa from 1994 to 19, and he was the country's first Black head of state and first elected in a fully representative democratic election. So this, to me, I mean, was probably the biggest surprise, because we really hadn't heard the name Nelson Mandela since sometime in the late 80s. I'm thinking 1987 or 1988. Tell me what you think. Maybe that's like the year that we heard he had passed away. So after all of that, there were a few very strange occurrences, Mandela effects, that really threw us for a loop, I think. So I'm going through some of these Mandela effects. And I mean, the Monopoly guy with the monocle, I remember the monocle clearly. Again, let me know in the comments what you remember, don't remember. Curious George with a tail, because I remember seeing Curious George hanging from trees in his books when I was a kid. It was the Berenstain Bears, an E, not an A. I remember this. I want to know how many of you remember. So the actual term Mandela effect, though, was not even coined in the 80s or in the 90s. It was coined in 2009 by Fiona Broome when she created a website to detail her observance of the phenomenon. Broome was at a conference talking with other people about how she remembered the tragedy of former South African President Nelson Mandela's passing in a South African prison in the 1980s. Obviously, Fiona Broome and myself have the same memories. So it goes on to say he did not pass in the 1980s in a prison, but in 20. And Broome began to talk to other people about her memories. She learned that she was not alone. Others remembered seeing news coverage and a speech by his widow. I'm not sure I remember the speech by his widow, but I absolutely remember a newspaper article. So she was shocked, Broome, to learn that such a large mass of people could remember the same identical event in such detail when it never happened. And encouraged by her book publisher, she began her website to discuss what she called the Mandela Effect and other incidents like it. So this is our collective memories of non-memories, apparently, of things that never occurred. But there's no way that this occurred. And my source for this is a website I love, and I use their Very Well calculator all the time for nutrition. This is Very Well Mind, and you got to check that out. Check out Very Well Nutrition Calculator too. They're really awesome for, watching your calories in your own recipes. You could just type everything in or put in the ingredients of what's in something and check all the fat, everything. Anyway, speaking of fat and food, okay, here's another example of Henry VIII eating a turkey leg. So does anyone remember a portrait, very famous portrait of Henry VIII in all his very, very royal regalia? And there was apparently a turkey leg in this picture. It's not. So people had a memory that this portrait of Henry VIII featured him eating or holding a turkey leg. I kind of remember something with the turkey leg, like up close to his mouth, but maybe not. Though no such painting has ever existed, there have, however, been similar cartoons created, and this may be related to the common knowledge of Henry VIII as a very large man. So it's possible that a cartoon or something may have poked fun at him with a turkey leg, and people took this to be a more iconic photo portrait than his painting. But I do remember something with a turkey leg. Now, this one, where's my Star Wars fans out there? Because this one's creeping me out. This one does not seem like it's real. Luke. I am your father. That is the line. That is the line we all remember. That is the line we have all said to each other at some point or another, joking around. But apparently, that is incorrect. If you saw Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, you probably remember Darth Vader uttering the famous line, "Luke, I am your father," in the pivotal scene near the end of the film. But you might be surprised to learn that the line was, "No, I am your father." Most people have memories of the line being the former rather than the latter, and quoted incorrectly. I don't know. I'll fight on this hill. I really will. That it's "Luke, I am your father." Let me know. Do you guys agree with me? Do you remember "Luke, I am your father"? See, everyone's saying this, "Luke, I am your father." This is the real line. It's the real line. There's no other line. I don't understand. I even remember watching a scene, I think it was like it was the Big Bang Theory, and they had like the balloons that made their voices deeper. And they said, "Luke, I am your father," or it was a play on it. It was like whatever, but they said the name, and it was supposed to be a play on "Luke, I am your father." So I'm sticking with it. The timeline collapsed. I mean, seriously, thank you. OG Petty Witch has left me the comment that says the timeline collapsed, and there are a lot of theories revolving around this. It's just, when did it happen? In the late 80s, when we thought Nelson Mandela passed, or did it happen sometime in the 90s? Which I will actually get into the Stargate theory and what I believe happened with the Iraq War, because supposedly there was a Stargate in Iraq. I don't know. This is all for hyper theoretical. So, take everything I say because it's for entertainment purposes only, of course. But, people seem to think, and it seems like it could timeline jumps. And there's agreement here. OG Petty Witch, it happens frequently. All right, let's get to this one. Oh my. This one also, because I feel like my whole life is shattered. The evil queen in Snow White. What did she say? What were her famous words? What was that line? We all know it. We all say it. It's "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest one of all." I used to run around my house saying that all the time. It's etched in my brain, with a little chisel. And that is supposedly not the line. So it says, if you watched Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, you probably remember the line, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all." As you can see from the above subtitled screenshot, the line actually begins with the phrase "magic mirror on the wall." It probably doesn't help that Julia Roberts and Lily Collins starred in a 2012 live-action film based on Snow White called "Mirror, Mirror." Mirror, mirror, everyone's saying it right on here, right now. It is absolutely "Mirror, mirror on the wall." So anybody out there who was born before Y2K, in what they like to call the late 1900s, that's not cool. It's funny though. Do you remember "Mirror, mirror" or "Magic mirror," younger people? Because I know all the people my age in their 40s and 50s remember "Mirror, mirror on the wall." Very weird. Oh, okay. This one's messing with my head because this is A or E, but it's Osmayer. So is it Mayer or Meyer? Oh my God. It's Mayer. We sang a song. We sang the song. "My baloney has a first name It's Oscar. My baloney has a second name. It's Mayer. Really? Yes, 'cause Oscar Mayer has a way with Bologna. I really, really have a terrible, terrible memory that's a curse for old jingles. I can sing them all. You're singing the song. Thank you. I appreciate you to go along with my singing here. But it's Mayer. It is not Meyer. But there is controversy over it. To be fair, the brand pronunciation is a closer match for the Meyer spelling, while Mayer is often pronounced different, as in the musician John Mayer's name. That's true, but this is, American English, and good and food have the same double O's and are pronounced slightly differently, so there we go. All right, what do we got next? Okay, here's a freaky one. Really freaky. Where is New Zealand? Now, I'm going to say that I honestly do not remember where New Zealand was supposed to be. I'm not the greatest with geography. I can't even tell you half the states in our country because I never pay attention to geography. Oops, but I pay attention to the GPS. So this is the location of New Zealand. Where is New Zealand in relation to Australia? If you look at a map, you will see that it is southeast of the country. However, there is a community of people who claim to remember New Zealand being northeast instead of east. Now, that's a huge jump. That's like you're jumping across the entire continent. So interesting. Do we have any Australians or New Zealanders out there who can tell me if this is the truth? That's a good question, maybe. We'll all find out together. We'll all find out together. So anyone out there who maybe either lived in Australia and is here, or maybe you're watching from Australia, who knows, and how's tomorrow doing if you're watching from Australia or New Zealand? But let me know, anybody out there, is it the northeast or the southeast side of the continent? That is a weird one. Oh, here we are. Berenstain Bears been talking about this. So the title here has it spelled with the E, and the book has it spelled with the A, and seeing it with the E just made my heart do this flutter thing. OG Petty Witch is telling me New Zealand's the northeast. Thank you. Thank you for information of that particular Mandela effect. So the Berenstain Bears, they wrote it here with the E. My heart fluttered because that feels familiar. So they were created by, of course, Stan and Jan Berenstain. And as they're saying in this article, it's not immune to the Mandela effect. Hey, wait a minute. This is the greatest comment. I'm going to just pause myself for a moment. And lightning and thunder, I prefer to call it reality surfing. It has more style. And thank you for this. Berenstain for me. Okay, I remember the E as well. And Monopoly Man Monocle, yes, same. And Mandela passed in prison, yes, same. So there's a lot of us here that have these same collective memories. The Berenstain Bears, I remember the E. The A looks foreign to me. The A looks like it just was like it came in from another country and they just, put these in and took the other ones out of circulation. I don't know. And yeah, Curious George did have a tail. So I'm gonna get to there's one here I want to skip for a moment, and I'll get to it because I do want to, but it's not the Mandela Effect I'm looking to go into tonight. And it's a particular movie from the 90s, and I'm not going there yet. That deserves its own. So, whoa. I'm reading some awesome comments here. Last time I consciously surfed recently, a 1,000-pound WW2 explosive was unearthed 7 miles from my house. You're powerful. You're a super powerful one. That is interesting. So I'll get back to the movie. I really want to give that its own time. Maybe that'll be the subject of tomorrow's pre-recorded cast. I had another one planned. It was really dark, but I'm going to stick with Mandela effects. I like the surfing. I surf a little bit too, but I don't sleep as well as I need to do that. So let's get to, this is Pokemon. I am not familiar with Pokemon, but there's a cute little dude. Was that part of the Pokemon Go? I never did that. But anyway, they remember Pikachu having a black-tipped tail, and here he does not. But he has black-tipped ears. The black-tipped tail too, and that kind of would make sense, honestly, artistically. Like, I am an artist as well, and it would really have balanced out Pikachu to have had a black-tipped tail. So, the little yellow guy, yeah. So, I think that he did have a little black sort of lightning bolt on his tail. Who knows? Who knows? And that's the thing, we will never know. Okay, this is an odd one too. So, remember Mickey Mouse, the first cartoon, Steamboat Willie. And in that, Mickey Mouse originally had suspenders. Mickey Mouse, hasn't he always had suspenders? Am I off? Am I wrong? Hasn't Mickey Mouse always had suspenders? But in this Steamboat Willie, the reason that he has buttons on his pants is to hold up the suspenders. And now there are no suspenders. And this is funny. It says he's wearing shorts, but he's unclothed on the top half of his body. How scandalous. Well, Donald Duck needs some pants. He's never had pants. That's also scandalous. Why did Donald Duck not ever have pants? That has nothing to do with the Mandela effect. But why does Donald Duck not have pants, but Daisy Duck's covered with a dress? And why is Pluto a dog on 4 legs and Goofy is a dog in pants and a hat and a shirt on 2 legs? And that's not a Mandela effect. I just had to rant for a moment because I'm watching this Disney Steamboat Willie thing and Disney's freaking me out. Okay. Don't even tell me. Don't even tell me with this next famous Sally Fields Oscar speech. Tell me you remember this, right? You like me. You really like me. This is what she said. This is what we have been quoting for years. This is back when I watched the Oscars. I watched it. So when Sally Field won the Oscar in 1985, her acceptance speech included the oft-repeated, oft-parodied line, "You like me, you really like me," except what she actually said was, "I can't deny the fact that you like me, right? You like me." I think she said all of that. I really do. I think that she said all of those words. So, I'm seeing here, so you know that there are other realities out there. What would you like to do with it? That's a wonderful question for the Mandela Effect episode here. And what would you guys do, right? What would you guys do out there if we could just walk into other realities and other dimensions? Like, what would we do? Would we would we mess with the timeline and risk messing up our own timeline here? Do you think that this happens all the time? I mean, with the whole Mandela effect, to time travel with it, right? Maybe this is all done by these time travelers that say that they're out there and they have done so many things with our timeline that things have changed. Maybe it was the CERN super collider in 2012, like the Mayans had predicted. So this is very cool. So who remembers what Looney Tunes is supposed to be? Toons or tunes? Which one? I always thought it was tunes, Looney Tunes, because that is the way that Gen X learned all about classical music. I mean, the cartoons themselves, the animation was brilliant to go with the classical music. And every time I hear any kind of band play, all I see is Mortimer just running through the crowd. So, wow. So I just got this comment, OG Petty Witch, thank you. Oh, dang, what if you're right? Time travel could cause collapses in the timeline, maybe. Well, they said this. Doc Brown told Marty McFly this in Back to the Future. He said, you can't self, your older self, your younger self, or you risk the time-space continuum imploding. I listened to Doc Brown way too much. I also met Christopher Lloyd once, and he was such a wonderful man. I made him laugh. But this whole thing, we don't know really what's going on. There's so much talk. There's so many conspiracy theories. There's so many stories out there that something somewhere has to have a little smidgen of truth to it to, come in and out of our world. I mean, even if you think about the paranormal, that's a whole other reality, but sometimes it crosses over into our world, especially here in my 200-year-old house. So just quickly back to Looney Tunes, it's TUNES as a companion to merry melodies. So we all though do remember Tiny Toon Adventures, and that was TOON. I remember that word tiny. See, I don't understand what's with my brain and jingles. So this is really interesting. So many of you guys are being incredibly, wonderfully open with yourselves. I've bilocated in time and space. These are like really incredibly amazing things that if you are spiritually elevated enough and you work and meditate enough and do all of these things, you can get there. I will say, here's a conversation that I had with my sister. So my sister and I shared a little room when we were up until the time I was 9 and she was like 6 maybe or something, 5, 6. Anyway, about 30 years later, we're sitting in my mother's dining room, our new dining room, the new one that they moved into. We're sitting at the dining room table, and all of a sudden, for some reason, the subject of astral projection came up. My sister looks at me and she goes, and watch us sleep. And I went, wait a minute. Hold up. Me too. And I was like, how come we never saw each other? So that was another thing. When we astral projected, were we each in our own personal dimensions? Right? So do we each have our own personal realities as well as the collective realities within our generations, neighborhoods, our cities, our states, our countries that we all live in? So this is an incredible statement right here. It took passing, coming back, and then having another Kundalini awakening, along with thousands of hours of meditation. Everything has a consciousness. These are some wonderful, beautiful words here. Are you a yogist or anything like that? Because I used to be a yoga teacher. I studied Ayurvedic, all of that, Ayurvedic healing, meditation, yoga nidra. I used to lead really good yoga nidra classes. I used to teach air classes and Pilates personal training, and I was a nutrition consultant for many, many years. So mind, body, spirit is highly important to me. And it's I mean, it is, it's everyday life. It surrounds us, right? We live in a mind, body, spirit consciousness, but we all the time because we forget our spirit. We lose our minds, hurt, and they're tired. We have to get past that though now, because we're at a pivotal point in our world history where we're at, this tipping point where spirituality is rising and things like the Mandela Effect are coming to light because these collective conscious memories of generations, millions of people together, are so stronger than anything out there that exists. The Buddha says, I'll go back to my yoga teaching, 3 things cannot stay hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. So keep speaking truth and maybe we'll get it. Maybe. Okay. This one, I think I have an explanation for, my friends. This is Jif peanut butter and Jiffy peanut butter. So they Jiffy popcorn or Jiffy Pop popcorn and Skippy peanut butter. And I thought that people were confusing Jif and Skippy, calling it Jiffy. But it has never been Jiffy. It has always been Jif. I will tell you why. So I am absolutely still addicted to any TV from the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s. And on the Tubi channel was still there, but What's Happening? I absolutely love the Shirley, Rod, Rerun, Dwayne, everybody. And it's like the first season, and it's maybe the second or third episode. And Dee was eating a jar of peanut butter, and it happened to be Jif. It was very recognizable, the red stripe, the blue stripe, the green stripe. And because you couldn't show brands on TV back then, in the 70s and probably in the 80s too, they would just take a piece of construction paper and cover up one of the letters. So they covered up the big giant F, big piece of construction paper, thus telling you it was always Jif if it went back to like 1972 or something of that. But I remember absolutely it has always been Jif. So I don't know. That's just me. But I remember Jif, and that is my proof. An episode of What's Happening with Dee eating Jif peanut butter in the first season. Go ahead, YouTube it, look it up. I promise you it's there. So this is Curious George's tail. He had a tail. He had a tail. The monkey had a tail. I don't understand. All monkey tails. Like I said, I remember seeing him hanging from a tree by his tail in some books. So if you guys remember him having a tail, let me know. Let me know, because this is weird. It's not Strange Occurrence. He's just, Curious George had a tail. And there's an episode of Friends when Ross had Marcel, Rachel had a Curious George, and she brought him, it was a stuffed monkey with a yellow t-shirt and a red baseball hat, and it had a tail. And I believe it was supposed to be Curious George. And it had a tail in that Friends episode. And someone said, I'm not sure if that was really a Curious George, but the point was the monkey had a tail. What do you think? Did he have a tail? Yes. So this is absolutely the weirdest thing. Okay. Fruit Loops. What happened to Fruit Loops? It used to be FRUITLOOPS, but now it's FROOTLOOPS, and that's weird. It looks like foot. Like if you're not looking at the R, it looks like Foot Loops. Foot Loops. Fruit Loops, just go back to the way it's supposed to be spelled, fruit, and put like 4 O's in loops. We can accept that, but we can't accept a double O in Fruit Loops. I'm going to give that like a big old thumbs down. Okay. This one has caused like major controversy. Now, I just want to start off by saying, disclaimer, I think I remember how this went down. And this is a famous logo. This is Fruit of the Loom's logo. Now, they put up on Twitter, now X, whatever. X is a generation, that's us. It's not an app. But anyway, there was this whole uproar about Fruit of the Loom having a cornucopia, and now it doesn't. Now, I remember the Fruit of the Loom guys, and if anyone tells me the Fruit of the Loom guys didn't exist, I'm going to lose my mind. Go lose my mind. So it says, what society tells us to be, Fruit of the Loom with the cornucopia, versus what we actually are, Fruit of the Loom, no cornucopia. I swear I remember like segment or something about how Fruit of the Loom was, I don't know, modernizing and getting rid of the cornucopia and having their new logo because they just wanted to, move with the times, and the cornucopia sort of was, not so modern. But some of them are saying it never happened at all. Either way, it doesn't have it now. What I will say is it looked better without the cornucopia. The man dressed up as the grapes was my favorite. He was so good. Oh, that's so funny. Okay, there we go. So there's a lot on here, and let's get to the monocle. Okay, let's talk about the monocle. How many of you 110% out there remember Rich Uncle Pennybags, also known as Monopoly, having the monocle? Because he does not now. And what they're saying to us, this is gaslighting, is that we are mistaking him for the monocled Mr. Peanut. No, I remember the monocled Mr. Peanut. And let's see. Jim Carrey, in a scene in Ace Ventura 2, The Pet Detective, describes encounter a monocled man he refers to as Guy. So I remember the monocle. I feel like there's been out there where they've put a monocle on him now on like some collectibles or something, but I really wish that I had any of my old Monopoly games. So I don't know. The Monopoly man does not have a monocle anymore. Oh, we're going back to Star Wars. They should have just put all the Star Wars stuff together. So my Star Wars fans, C-3PO's leg is what? So I remember him being all gold, like 100% head to toe gold. But it says the famed Star Wars droid has a silver right leg, but we won't blame you for getting this one wrong. The explanation, oh boy, listen to this one, you guys. Listen to this explanation. Given the lower resolution of older films, the character often being shot from the waist up, and the fact that the original line of toys featured an all-gold C-3PO, is no surprise how surprising it is to discover he had a silver leg all along. I don't know. But Lightning and Thunder, you're awesome. I'm really enjoying everything that I've read from you. So we have to connect. We totally have to connect. So yeah, C-3PO apparently has always had a silver leg, but because of lower resolution films, even when we saw it on TV, he was gold. Right? Yeah, I think he was gold. I remember Gold saying he had a silver leg all along. Literally, you could like knock me over with a feather. No. This one is about one of the most famous movies ever, which is Casablanca. And it says, play it again, Sam, or not. So, Casablanca, one of the most famous films of all time, and while many decades later, more and more people have not seen it, what is nonetheless known as the famous line, play it again, Sam. Unfortunately, if you are familiar with that line, you may be confused to learn that it was never actually said that way in the film. Ingrid Bergman's character does, however, say, play it once, Sam, adding to the confusion maybe that Woody Allen made a film in 1972 called Play It Again, Sam, about a film critic obsessed with Casablanca. Well, in this timeline, we would get the new line, but I thought it was Play It Again, Sam. Oh, who knows? Who knows? Who knows? So here's a really freaky one, and I'm looking at the weirdest picture of Mr. Rogers I've ever seen because it looks like he has a chip in his tooth. Now, we all know the song. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Would you be mine? Would you mind? But no, 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 no. Hollywood contributed to the Mandela Effect when in 2019, the Mr. Rogers biopic was named A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, a reference to the opening line from this famous song that opened every episode of Fred Rogers' show. In reality, the song opens with the line, it's a beautiful day in this neighborhood. No, it does not. No, it does not. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. The neighborhood. So there are some really, really strange occurrences happening just within our own world, our own, what do we call it? Culture? Our pop culture. There are so many things that don't quite make sense. Now, it's also possible that people with, better understanding of the internet hacked our whole lives and destroyed evidence and changed things, and everyone just accepted it. But I'm more into the reality of like timelines jumping and things. So this is, this, and I'm like, I've been watching Ancient Aliens, I don't know, since it's like been on. And not just because of the ancient alien theories, because if we played a drinking game of every time the ancient aliens, ancient astronaut theorists said yes, it was ancient aliens, we'd all be wasted all the time. But they give you an ancient history lesson also. And within those ancient history lessons are such very, very strange things that don't make sense. So literally throughout our world history, since it's been recorded, there have been some of the strangest stories. And I wonder if some of the recorded stories we have are Mandela effects. Think about that. Think about what if every single story we've heard has been tweaked somehow by someone who jumps timelines, someone who time travels. There's all of these stories about, there was just that story in Florida where the gentleman caught on his camera a man walking into his shed but not walking out, and then an older man walking out but that looked surprisingly like the younger man. And people were comparing him to Bob Lazar, who was one of the first whistleblowers about Area 51. And it's a possibility. I mean, he could have edited the footage and edited out the man walking out and a new man walking in and like kind of, pulls a whole prank, but it kind of doesn't seem that way. And maybe it is a possibility. Then there's also those slideshows of cities who look exactly like other people in the past. And then there is the man with the sunglasses and the t-shirt in the middle, in a photograph in the middle of all people wearing like hats and suits. And then there's the woman in the Groucho Marx film who looks like she's speaking on a cell phone. So there are many instances where glimpses of the past and the future meeting do collide. I believe that I just saw a photograph of someone who said he was in a photograph with Abraham Lincoln. So there's so many interesting things out there. And I mean, yeah, anything can be faked, photoshopped, CGI, lots of things. But collective memories cannot. And that's what makes the Mandela Effect so incredibly interesting. So if you guys have other mechs that you want me to go into, or you want me to do a deep dive into any one of these that I have mentioned, leave me a comment on TikTok, on YouTube, on Spotify. I appreciate the feedback more than you guys will ever know, because it gives me the best direction of which way to go to entertain you guys and put on the best show that I can for you, because I'm not doing this for me. I mean, I'm having fun, but you guys seem to be enjoying it. So like, let's keep doing this together. It's like a whole community thing. So with that, I'm going to sign off on this podcast here and catch my pre-recorded show, which will be a lot about that specific movie I was talking about from the 90s. You'll have to tune in to see what that's going to be. I am going to say, see you on the next episode. It's Rose Stone, Miss Reach Life, signing off. Love, peace, and hair grease.